Shifting focus now to the other big debate here. Amid several political leaders coming under the scandal and corruption allegations like we were just discussing, over 600 lawyers now from across the country have written to the Chief Justice of India expressing serious concerns over what they describe as political and professional pressure to influence judicial outcomes. The letter, that is titled Judiciary Under Threat, Safeguarding Judiciary from Political and Professional Pressure, has now been signed by prominent lawyers. They include senior advocates Harish Salve, Anand Mishra, who joins us in just a few minutes, Adish Agarwal, Chetan Mittal, Pinky Anand and several others. The letter alleges that the actions of a specific interest group, a vested group, aimed to undermine the judiciary's integrity. We've accessed that 6-page letter, so let me take you through that. The letter talks about the actions of a vested interest group, which they allege is trying to pressure the judiciary, influence the judicial process. The lawyers allege that this vested interest group was employing pressure tactics to influence judicial outcomes, especially in cases that involved political leaders. These lawyers then flagged that the interest group's focus is on corruption cases against political leaders. So they're talking about something very specific in the backdrop of what's happening. Lawyers have also highlighted several concerning methods, including the propagation of what they claim as false narratives about a so-called golden era of the judiciary. The lawyers flagged that some of these tactics have been employed by the group include selective criticism or praise of a court decisions based on whether it goes on their favor, whether it is akin to their political agenda, calling it my way or the highway approach. They say that it's strange to see politicians accuse someone of corruption and then defend them in court. These lawyers have now claimed that there is a bid to discredit current proceedings and to undermine public confidence in these courts. They say that the efforts to belittle and manipulate the courts for personal and political reasons cannot be allowed under any circumstances, which is why they've written this letter to the Chief Justice. They highlighted that these actions pose a significant threat to the democratic fabric and the trust that has been placed in our judiciary and the processes that are there. They went on to then request the Supreme Court to stand strong. They asked the Chief Justice of India, Chandrachud, to take steps to protect our courts from these attacks. Now, this is what happened, and the political fallout of it transpired about a few hours later. What words erupted over this letter? Listen in to what the Prime Minister had to say. The Prime Minister came out and said that this was an attempt to browbeat and bully, and this really is a Kong culture. The Congress was quick to respond. They said that the Supreme Court has delivered multiple body blows to the BJP, so the BJP must not claim any high moral ground on this. The Prime Minister said that the Congress had committed judiciary 50 years ago. They wanted a committed judiciary for themselves, is what the Prime Minister alleged. The Congress said that the PM defending judiciary is the height of hypocrisy. The Prime Minister went on to say that the Congress has desisted commitment towards the nation time and again. The Congress and Jairam Ramesh specifically went on to say that the Supreme Court had declared electoral bonds unconstitutional just recently, a scheme that was brought in by the BJP. The Prime Minister said that no wonder 140 crore Indians are now rejecting the opposition, rejecting the Congress. The Congress said the Prime Minister has given legal guarantee to corruption, and it's not about these 140 crore Indians rejecting the opposition, but these 140 crore Indians waking up to what the BJP has been doing. Mallikarjun Kharge, the chief of the Congress party, also came out and said that institutions under the NDA government are under attack. The political war of words brewing, that's the big debate. Continues with me on this broadcast, national spokesperson of the BJP, Shehzad Poonawalla, Kapil Madan, lawyer and political analyst leaning towards the Congress and multiple issues, joins us as well. And Anand Mishra, signatory and chairman of the Bar Council of India, joins us as well. Let me begin by asking Mr. Mishra, let me start off by asking you, what prompted you to write this letter in the first place, for you and 599 others to sign it?
A few days back, a group of lawyers, they wrote a letter to the Honorable Chief Justice of India. Actually, the purpose was to browbeat the institution. and to lay a pressure tactics on them. That apart, to tarnish the image of our judiciary. Writing a letter is one thing, and then they made it viral through social media, throughout the country, throughout the world. That prompted us to give a effective reply, and myself, Mr. Harish Salve, Mr. Adish Agrawal, we all together joined and we wrote the letter to the Honorable Chief Justice of India.
In this letter that you've signed, sir, you speak of this vested group. Who exactly are you referring to, if I may ask you that?
The name everybody knows. Mr. Adish Agrawala has already disclosed the names. The name is not important. The most important thing is that few lawyers come politicians. Everybody knows them. Whenever an order is passed in their favor, no issue. But whenever they want an order to be in their favor and they don't get this either from Supreme Court or from the High Court, then they start browbeating the courts. Then they start doing some pressure tactics upon the institution, which is not at all tolerable either by the our legal fraternity or by the common man of the country. See what happened? The ED arrested Mr. Arvind Kejriwal. Against that arrest, they immediately approached the Supreme Court. They made an application. They mentioned the case before the Honorable Chief Justice of India. Then the case was fixed at 2 p.m. A special bench was constituted. When they realized that the petition is misconceived, they are not going to get any favorable order from the Supreme Court, either before that special bench or any other bench. The jurisdiction was not there. The moment a person is arrested and remanded, the jurisdiction lies with either the special court or the magistrate. They directly moved the Supreme Court. Then, realizing their mistake, they withdrew the petition. And now they are saying that this judge, that judge, this is a bench fixing, this is the, actually, the institution is in danger. It's all baseless things they are uttering before the public, and they are actually making it viral through the social media. This is beyond tolerance.
You speak of bench fixing, and I'll come back to you on that. But Kapil Madan, specific references there being made by one of the signatories to the letter, and that speaks of the kind of protest that we saw within the fraternity, within the legal community as well, in the aftermath of Arvind Kejriwal's arrest. So there's one specific case that is being referred to, at least in the recent circumstances.
So I'll just give a very small reference to what has transpired recently. Mr. Manan Mishra just said that a petition was wrongly filed before the Supreme Court. I mean, a person, any litigant has right to approach the court, rightly or wrongly. Sometimes the court passes the order. If there is no jurisdiction, court does not entertain, and in this case, what has happened now? Coming back to one of the signatory of this letter, Mr. Adish Agrawala. Mr. Adish Agrawala wrote a letter to the president to ensure that no effect should be given to the electoral board judgment. And thereafter, he again wrote a letter to the Chief Justice to say that there should be a suo motu review. And in fact, the Honorable Chief Justice of India, in an open court, renounced, and he was surprised with this kind of a letter. I mean, if at all jurisdiction is an issue, a person who himself is a Supreme Court senior advocate has also wrongly wrote a letter wherein there was no jurisdiction. That's point number one. Now, the timing of this letter, I would just say that recently we have two very important decisions by the Honorable Supreme Court. One was regarding the electoral bond scam. And if you see the letter, Mr. Harish Salve is also one of the signatory of this letter. Remember, he was representing SBI. He went and he sought time from the Honorable Court to furnish the data. The Supreme Court again came down very heavily on Mr. Salve, and court rejected that application and directed that the information should be given to the election commission next day. And the information was indeed given next day. So what was happening there? They were trying to play in political galleries because they knew that the electoral bond case has negative political repercussions, and therefore they were seeking to buy time. Now I'll give you another instance of what has happened. Now you remember what has happened in the Chandrachud mayor elections. where a person who was associated with BJP, was caught red-handed on video camera, manipulating, forging the ballot papers, and the Supreme Court, asked that person to appear in person. He had to appear in person. Again, he made a false statement,
Sure.
and a prosecution was initiated against him. So these are, to my understanding, two very important, decisions.
Sure, but I think that's exactly what is being.
But to say, I mean, nobody then in that situation, made an argument that, any political party is trying to, influence, the judiciary or the judicial.
Sure, but I think that's the exact argument that they're trying to make, that verdicts go either way, but you cannot decide to question a judgment or hail a judgment based on whether it is akin to what your political ideology is or whether it's in your favor or not. Shehzad, I see your hand going up, and I'll come to you for a rebuttal, but I want to get in a word from Mr. Mishra as well, because we were speaking of timing, and that's something that this lawyer also speaks of. Mr. Mishra, the letter goes on to say that we are reminded of similar antics in 2018-2019 when they took to their hit and run activities, including fabricating wrong narratives. So are you saying that this is all just time to elections, 2019 and now 2024?
Naturally, everybody knows that this is the time of Lok Sabha election. Then anyhow, they are now our courts, our Supreme Court, they are trying to make it a battlefield, which the lawyers or the public, they are fully aware of it, and they are not going to allow anybody to make our courts the playground or the battlefield. Political battles you can't actually play in through the courts, maybe Supreme Court or any other court.
Absolutely, and those must be kept out. Legal battles and political ones must be fought on their different turfs. And Shehzad Poonawalla, we've seen the kind of political fallout that this has had as well. The Prime Minister himself has waded in. He's weighed in on what this really means as far as Congress especially is concerned. But the Congress now represents the entire of the opposition on most issues. This is something perhaps that will bind them together as well.
Look, first of all, this is the same Congress party which imposed the emergency, wanted committed judiciary, allowed for supersession of a judge, and also made Baharul Islam sometimes a judge and sometimes an MP, and after Mr. Baharul Islam was an MP, he was again made a Supreme Court judge. So this is the context of the Congress party. It's like the devil preaching scriptures. Now let me tell you what is the problem today. The problem today is that Congress's commitment to the constitution is conditional. If the Supreme Court gives a verdict on Chandigarh, Kapil Madan and his ilk will celebrate it. If the same Supreme Court says ED and CBI are not acting under any kind of pressure, the Kapil Madan and his cabal will say, no, we reject this. The same cabal will then go and start besmirching the reputation of a judge. For instance, when the 4 judges came out and did a PC, Khadge and his ilk were celebrating those judges. When the same judge from that judge was part of the Ram Mandir verdict, they start abusing and saying that this judge is a bika hua judge. Thereafter you say, my way or highway. That means the court has to follow your diktat, and if the court does not follow your diktat, then the entire institution is called under question, where Rahul Gandhi says it's a BJP RSS controlled institution. First of all, decide, when Mr. Chandrachud says that there is no executive pressure on him in various media forums, is that true, or is Rahul Gandhi's version that this is an RSS BJP controlled judiciary? That is true, and this is the problem. The problem is that the Congress thinks that it is the Loktantra or it is the country in itself. So if Congress's existence is in threat, Loktantra is in threat. If Congress does not get a verdict its way, that means Loktantra and judiciary are biased. If Congress loses an election, EVM election commission is biased. This Congress's attitude कि मैं ही संविधान मैं ही देश, this is the moot problem, and in that, while abusing and attacking Prime Minister Modi, they start attacking Indian institutions. The entire world is celebrating India's democratic exercise, but their cabal is trying to prove to the entire world that judiciary is not fair, Loktantra is not fair, democracy is dead in India. Imagine this is their agenda, that to make Modi look bad, they are happy to make India look bad, India's forces look bad, and therefore they've started attacking the Indian judiciary and trying to put pressure. And last word, if today, just look at what has happened. The judiciary has come out and, for whatever it's worth, given a verdict on even the income tax matter, the High Court. Yet they continue to say that our bank accounts are frozen, when it has been clarified that there's a lien, there's no bank freezing of account. They continue to say it's vindictive karwai, when the court has said that you have been sleeping all this while not paying your taxes. So can Kapil Madan tell me that, are you the Samvidhan? Are you India?
So, allow me to make a very quick response. I agree with my good friend Shehzad Poonawala. Perhaps, his remarks, he made very terse, very critical points here. And, it exposes the letter which is under question that we are debating. That, this letter itself is an exercise wherein, people are trying to, create, some sort of an environment to, project that, judiciary is under threat. I totally agree with Shehzad Poonawala. That's the reason why it is our independence of, judiciary that is ensuring that our constitution is protected. That is ensuring that, people who are, taking swearing in, ceremonies at 5 a.m. in the morning, those ceremonies are declaring illegal. That is our constitutional court that is ensuring that, illegal exercise by the governor of, calling a chief minister to prove a majority, that has been called illegal. It is our constitutional court that are ensuring that a mayor, who in mayor election, a BJP functionary who forges the paper, he faces the wrath of the law. It is our judiciary who is exposing the quid pro quo and the illegalities and the massive institutionalized corruption that got exposed by way of electoral bond scams. And
just one line.
I'm absolutely sure, these kind of letters which are being circulated in order to create, false impression will not yield any side, sort of ill-gotten results.
Yes, Shehzad, I'll get you in, but Kapil Madan, Kapil Madan, I just want to ask you this. You say that these kind of letters are trying to build a false narrative, but this letter came to a letter that previously was made viral, making claims exactly opposite to this. Then would you also say that too is trying to create a narrative or whip up a sentiment?
Of course, yes. Of course, I say that. I mean, you can't question. It is our constitutional courts, our honorable courts that
so let's keep courts out
that
of this.
Our democracy is preserved. And any attempt to derail the course of justice should be condemned.
Sure. So let's keep courts out of this. Yes, Shehzad, you had a point to make.
Just now, Mr. Kapil Madan was saying that the judiciary did this action on that BJP person in the Chandigarh mayor case. Judiciary took a stand on the electoral bond case. So then the same judiciary has convicted Lalu Prasad Yadav 5 times. Why does RJD say that Lalu has been subjected to vendetta? The same judiciary has said that Mr. Manish Sisodia won't get bail. The Sharab Ghotala has taken place and 338 crore money trail has been found. Why does Mr. Kejriwal say I'm Kattar Imandar, Chavanni nahi mili? The same judiciary today has denied any kind of relief after all your same repeated old wine in new bottle arguments made before the judge by a political person, and has denied bail to Mr. Kejriwal. Why does the Aam Aadmi Party continue to hold press conferences and say that ED or Modi ji khatam kar rahe hain Kejriwal ko? Who has put him in jail and who has kept him in jail? Why is it that when the income tax issue has not been set, when the income tax issue has been given no relief to on by the courts to Congress Party, why is the Congress Party lying that this is vindictive karwai of the income tax? Now please, Mr. Kapil Madan, be specific and tell me that when the Congress continues to say that we are being subjected and targeted in the income tax matter, it is false. When Kejriwal says Chavanni nahi mili, he is lying. Say it. Say this specifically.
Now the point is, Shehzad, my good friend is not a practicing lawyer. That's the reason why he is making these kind of, a very, naive kind of an argument. And I would, give him that concession because he is not a practicing lawyer. Let me just give you what happens. Now, when a prosecution, presents its case, that is tested on the way it has been presented by the prosecution. The veracity of the allegation is tested during the course of the trial. The trial in ED cases, which my good friend Shehzad has referred, is yet to begin. It is only during the course of that trial.
Lalu is convicted 4 times, my good friend. You are a practicing lawyer. Kapil, because you invoked my name personally and you made a personal comment. Now listen to me. Lalu is convicted 4 times. Lalu is convicted 4 times.
then Shehzad, be very careful when you quote example, because Lalu's case and Sisodia's and Kejriwal's case is different, because these are under trials and that.
Lalu is convicted 4 times, yet the RJD says it's vendetta. What about that?
Drawing the same logic, my good friend Shehzad, when he used to be in Congress, there was, the so-called 2G scam. The Supreme Court came very heavily because the Supreme Court initially,
conviction, my friend, conviction.
Just a minute.
Kapil, you are a practicing lawyer. I have talked about conviction, not allegation.
Shehzad, you're a very intelligent debater.
Take a position on RJD saying Lalu is being subjected to vendetta when he's been convicted 4 times. Take a position, boss.
Shehzad, I will expect the same courtesy. I not for a minute interrupted you. You are a very seasoned debater.
But you did not keep courtesies when you attacked me personally for not being a practicing lawyer. I am asking you, Lalu is convicted 4 times. What is your stand?
Chautala convicted or not? You please tell me, is Mr. Chautala convicted? He was your alliance partner or not? Is he corrupt or not? You please say it. You please say it, I'll leave it. I will not say anything. You say.
I don't think you know. You don't know. We don't have an alliance with them in Haryana. We don't have an alliance with them in Haryana. What are you saying?
Mr. Chautala was convicted or not? Mr. Chautala got convicted or not? Say yes or no.
अरे but he is not my ally. Why should I answer?
अरे बाबा, अच्छा yes or no तो बोल दो कि हाँ वो convicted है, corruption के लिए convicted है. Yes or no बोल दो. Fact.
अरे but it is a fact that he is convicted. But what does that have to do with my party?
So you mean?
I agree he is convicted, but Lalu is convicted and he is a part of India alliance.
So that you agree that he was your alliance partner and he got convicted for a corruption case. So you, and thank you for very candidly.
So what are you trying to say? That we do not stand by convicted people? That's what you are trying to say, right? You are standing by a convicted person.
Mr. Mulapala, let me take your case. Now your alliance partner, Mr. Praful Patel, is he facing an ED prosecution or not? Was there an ED case or not? Is he a corrupt gentleman or he is not? You please say it, because he is your alliance partner.
Let me answer this again.
You please say yes or no. But आपका alliance अभी तो Mr. Praful Patel.
I'll answer. I've heard your question. I'll answer this.
Please yes or no.
I'll answer your question. I'll answer your question. Now, if you stop it,
you will drift away. You will not answer. Because
you claim that you're a...
Kapil Madan, you've asked your question. Let him respond. I have very limited time on this. Shehzad, go ahead.
Kapil Madan just told me that I am not a practicing lawyer, he is a practicing lawyer. We are talking about only convictions, yet he keeps changing the goalpost.
No,
you quoted the example of Chautala. Chautala is not in our alliance. Please don't interrupt. Chautala is convicted and he is not in our alliance. But Lalu is convicted and he is in your alliance. And yet you say that Lalu has been unfairly subjected to vendetta. Now please tell me that you condemn that statement. And this is exactly the point I am trying to make. That if you have the proof against anybody, A, B, C, D, go to court and get them convicted. If you have proof against Praful Patel, go to court. But when Praful Patel was with you, he was the cleanest man. And today he has become corrupt. When Ashok Chavan was with you, he was the cleanest man. Today he has become corrupt. When you have the other leaders in your party, they were all clean and today they have become corrupt. This hypocrisy and flip-flop. Mr. Kejriwal said Lalu was corrupt. Kejriwal said Sonia was corrupt. Kejriwal said that all these people need to go to jail. And today Kejriwal is himself in jail and he says that I am not corrupt. This is the problem.
So let me just give a 30-second response.
Unfortunately, Kapil Madan, I'm completely out of time and I want to have the signatory of this letter to him for him to have the last word. I just want to ask you, Mr. Mishra, you've written to the CJI, you and several others. What are your expectations from Justice Chandrachud on this?
We have made a request to the Honorable Chief Justice of India to take some action against such lawyers because it's a clear case of contempt. They have made deliberate attempt to tarnish the image of our judges. They have named some judges and the entire institution they have tried to malign. Therefore, it's a clear case of contempt. We have made a request to the Honorable Chief Justice of India. Now it is for the Chief to take a decision.
So let's keep politics out of our courts. Let's keep those two arms separately. And I think that's something that everyone will agree on. On that note, I have to end it right here. I thank you all for joining us here on this broadcast and sharing your perspective. Time for a quick break on the right stand. But on the other side, we'll get you details of the Mahabharata that's brewing over seat sharing. And it's not just the India alliance, it's the NDA alliance that seems to be mired in this power struggle in Maharashtra. Will it hurt anyone and who will it hurt? Coming up on the other side.